Some of the best yet. Some of the best yet. They bite like that, like that, like that. Big bass, double digits.
Pick up the fire right on top.
Low fall, blast off, trying to get some cast off. Doing this here for years, get my bass on. Stream mask on, putting in work. Snap back, got me focused, never settle on the shirt.
You listen and stop what you're doing and set it in motion. It's the next movement. You listen and stop what you're doing and set it in motion. It's the next. We got the hot music, the hot music.
You guys catch any?
No.
Don't see any.
No, I don't think so. Right? Did you guys?
No.
I don't think these fish are morning fish either.
So yeah, my buddy in Fort Worth, he I was at a tournament or something, and it was like February, like perfect jerkbait time. I told my buddy, like, go to this little lake in Texas out in the Fort Worth area, and dude, go throw a jerkbait on the dam. It's like everything's right. A south wind just occurred, and now a north wind just switched, and now the waves will be crashing on this dam, and these big giant ShareLunker Texas fish should bite that week. Everything was right. Well, he goes and he catches one over 13 pounds, calls Texas Parks and Wildlife, and they pick up the ShareLunker to use that fish to spawn and use the big fish DNA, the big fish genes, and they dump them in these lakes out here in Texas. So we're just around the corner from where that big fish is, so I want to go see that fish and see how big it is now.
Dope.
Cool.
You ever seen a 13-pound largemouth?
Never in my life.
Kyle?
I definitely have not. We come from the land of 10,000 lakes, and there is
Not
no
10,000,
such thing.
13
Yeah,
as 13 pounders.
yeah. We had Mexican food last night too, and they never had horchata.
It's gonna be a eventful couple days,
Culture
boys.
shock.
Real special surprise for you guys, man. I've been wanting to come to this place for years now. When I lived in Texas, it was always on my go see list, but here we are. We're finally here. Check it out.
Go look at some big largemouth. Look at this place. This is so cool. We kind of got rained out today. We're on the water filming some megabass stuff, and we thought we'd make the best out of our time.
We got rained out. Wire to fish, big bass streams. This is how dangerous one. We got rained out on Athens. Lake Athens was just out here. If you haven't heard, Texas Parks and Wildlife, they've got an awesome program where it's a ShareLunker program where anyone, my dad, my grandfather, my grandmother catches an 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 17 pound bass, call up Texas Parks and Wildlife. They'll come up, pick up that bass, spawn that fish, and re-release them into Texas fisheries. So there's no other state in the country that offers that type of program. So every single time you buy a Texas fishing license, you contribute to that program. So whenever the Bassmaster Elite Series comes, or the big fish guys, big bass guys come out to Texas, buy a fishing license, they are funding this program here. So we're about to walk in and see all these giant fish and how the program works.
Looking forward to it.
That's
The
right.
big old
Cool.
bat.
Yeah.
What's the biggest bat?
interesting.
What's the biggest largemouth the two of you guys have seen with your own eyes?
Oh gosh, I can't say I've seen anything hardly over 8. I mean,
Yeah, probably that.
But those are strictly northern strain largemouth.
That's Minnesota
the biggest
bass.
ones. I actually saw some I came to Texas one time and pond fish. We saw some 7, 8 pounders, but that was in Texas. So
Yeah, from Minnesota, they average about 3 to 4 pounds. That's the going rate there. I mean, anytime you get one over 6, 7, that's a giant in the land of 10,000 lakes. But here, it's just kind of a pipsqueak. Still big bass, but this is the land of the true giants.
There's a sign back here that says, "Did you bring your own rod and reel?
What?
Please check in at the English Pavilion."
Uh-oh, we might have blew it.
I know. We have rods sitting in the boat.
Good thing the boat's not that far away.
Yeah, no kidding. And Chris, what's the biggest largemouth you've seen with your own eyes? Because you are from California.
Yeah, from California. The biggest one I've held is a 14-pounder I caught back on Huddleston Swim Bay back before they were, they were out and about. That's the biggest one I've seen, I think, in person. Oliver's caught, 17. I think it's his biggest one he was talking about. That's just a massive fish. But there's a lot of 10, 11, 12, 13-pound bass in Texas that guys catch every single year. So hopefully there's a few of them here we can see today.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's an awesome facility. I believe they tried to maintain that 100% Florida strain genetics.
Yeah. Yep. So
very cool. All right.
We don't want any of those Minnesota strains.
We do when we're in Minnesota, maybe. Not when we're in Texas.
It's cool. It's Ethel. The grandma fish.
And have y'all ever been here?
No.
All right. Welcome, and I hope y'all enjoy it. It's too bad it's not a beautiful day, because you get a lot more out of it on a beautiful day.
Oh, yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, if it was a beautiful day, we wouldn't be here. We'd be out fishing.
That's true.
Like
okay,
so.
well, I guess it's good it's raining then.
Yeah.
Are these the 21 and over wristbands?
Yeah, that's it.
Sweet.
21 and over.
You must be Kyle.
I am. Hi, Kyle.
Kyle.
Good to meet you.
Hey, that's easy.
How you doing?
How you doing? I'm Oliver.
Good to meet you, Oliver.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Big Bass Streams?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he's a
Pretty
big
cool.
Bass Streams guy, and then I fish the lead series. And
My name is Kyle Brookshire. I am the program coordinator for the Toyota ShareLunker program.
Awesome.
So, yep.
This is a facility I've been wanting to visit for a couple years, man.
Yeah, that's a cool place. Lots of neat things happen here.
you can give us a little tour around this place?
I can. I can give you a quick tour. It's basically twofold. It's a state hatchery, and so it's also a visitor center. So we have, like you guys just came through, there's exhibits that display different conservation efforts, our hatcheries, talk about our programs. Cool. And then also there's a pond that we use to promote fishing, and it's all fresh water, so it's pretty neat. I wish you guys could be here in like March when we got some of the big fish.
Is that when it's really going down?
Yeah.
Ah, the ultimate game fish.
Yeah.
Yep, Big Crappie Dreams t-shirt coming next season.
Yeah.
Don't sleep on it. You got those in Minnesota?
Nope.
Snack.
Uh-oh. Nervous times in your life, huh, buddy?
Snack, yeah.
He's a perfect size, too.
Yeah.
Aim high, dream big. You could take them.
There's Trout right there. 30 years.
A little behind the scenes of how wire to fish gets down. Notice the stance. Very key in getting that perfect shot.
Look at it. Look at it. Check it out. That's kind of cool.
Wow. I've never seen a more beautiful, ugly ass fish. Look at all these tourists. What's your favorite part about working here, Kyle?
I think the favorite part about my job and working here is just interacting with people. I mean, the cool thing about the ShareLunker program is most everyone you talk to is on cloud 9 because they just caught the biggest fish of their life, or I just gave them some of the best prizes of their life. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun.
That's rad.
You hear a lot of really cool stories through that, and just get to interact with them and how they come to that point in their life is.
Now, how many drivers, I'll call them, that, there's a fish caught at Falcon, caught at Amos. Are you the one that drives down there? Or?
Primarily, yeah.
Wow.
I'm the one that receives the phone call and
Yeah.
kind of coordinates logistics. And inland fisheries staff is scattered throughout Texas,
Sure,
and so
Okay.
it's sort of like a chess match at that point, like trying to find the closest person that can respond, and we try to minimize our response time to the shortest that it can be.
And you guys have full-on pickup trucks and just giant tanks and aerated tanks, coolers, and all that stuff.
So we got a couple of Tundras. We just got a new one this year. We're getting ready to fully rig out. It's got a 175-gallon tank. It's a divided tank. It's got pure oxygen flowing into it. So
Take good care of them.
yeah, we do. We do the best we can. So, but this kind of talks about a lot of the ShareLunkers. The fly fishing world record was caught here. Rosie was her name. She's 14 pounds.
Wow.
You know, our first state record. So before Florida bass stockings in Texas, you know, the state record was right around 13 pounds, and then after the Florida bass stockings were introduced, you know, the size of the fish went up, and so we have our new current state record, which is 1818. And then Ethel, which was 1767, she was the first fish entered in the ShareLunker program, and she started the program and was also a new state record at the time.
That was all the way back in '86.
Yeah, 86 is when the program
I was 2
started.
years old then.
Yeah, I know, right?
Were you even born then?
Close. That's a replica of Ethel there.
Ethel.
All these are fiberglass replicas of fish.
Oh wow.
We've had almost 600 fish donated for spawning purposes, which is where an angler catches a bass 13 pounds or larger. They call us up, we come get it, they loan the fish to us, we bring it back to this facility, we spawn it, and then take the fish back to the lake, meet the angler, and then we release her. And then about a month later, we'll harvest the offspring. A portion of that offspring will go back into the lake to donate.
That no other state in the country comes close to what Texas Parks and Wildlife does from a conservation standpoint. I mean, it's unreal. Unreal.
What's the overall goal that you guys are trying to accomplish as a program here, Kyle?
That's a detailed question right there. I'd say overall, we want to make bass fishing bigger and better in Texas, which is where our tagline came from. You know, we rebranded last year and launched all of the new look, and that's really ultimately what it is, from bigger bass to more bigger bass. So basically more fish for anglers to catch, and most of those being bigger. So yeah, that's, I would say in a nutshell, you know, make bass fishing bigger and better in Texas is an overall goal. And in that we have several targeted goals. You know, long-term goals, short-term goals, but that's ultimately what we want to do.
Awesome.
So, yep.
They tell me everything's bigger in this state.
Yeah, it is.
So they started seeing me throwing this 11-inch swim bait on their local
You're
waters.
not the only one that throws it, I can tell you that much.
What's your favorite way to target these big fish when you're fishing for them?
I do like a good swim bait, but
I don't know. Sounds like you have a different go-to.
yeah, sometimes I don't know, I'll finesse them. It seems like you know, most of we collect catch data on all these fish that are entered. So anything 8 pounds and larger, and even the 13-pound bass and larger, we have catch data on, which includes, you know, weather patterns, you know, presentation type, what type of lure they were used with, and most of them are caught on a jig.
Yeah.
So not like a swim jig, but like a football head, you know, some type of deep, slow presentation. Target them with that type of bait.
Good. Smart.
But it's hard to beat watching them hit a glide bait. This is a Guadalupe in this tank. That's a state fish in Texas.
Yeah, why don't you break it down for us? Because like a lot of people outside of Texas don't even know this thing exists.
Guadalupe bass. Yeah.
Guadalupe bass,
Travis.
Yep. A lot of them guacamole bass.
Okay.
This is our state fish. It's a Guadalupe bass.
Looks like a cross between a spotted bass and maybe a little bit of smallmouth, largemouth, I guess. Really similar to a spot.
Native to Central Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
So that Colorado River system that I fish a lot has them.
Yeah.
Like you said, Travis.
Yeah, Lake Travis.
Lake Austin.
When the Elite Series went there were guys catching Guadalupe bass that they'd never caught them before. I'd never caught them before. I can tell you one thing, they're very, very aggressive.
They kind of act like spots.
They do a lot like spots, and they suspend a lot too.
Yeah.
In shade pockets. I mean, you could be over 150 feet of water, they'll be suspended in a shade pocket. If you bring anything, like, you know, Vision 110 megabass, I mean, they're crushing it.
That's a big one, right, Kyle?
That is a big one.
Yeah, I mean, they only get really up to about 4 pounds, which is record size. So that's a good size in there. He's getting older.
Blind in one eye.
Yeah, he got the cataract.
What is this?
It's a quad.
Guadalupe bass.
Huh.
I know you ain't got those in Minnesota.
I promise you we don't have those in Minnesota.
You from Minnesota?
Yeah. Both Mitch and I are.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like the anchovy tank at Monterey Bay Aquarium, except it's catfish.
Oh, yeah.
Sound cats.
Dude, these for sure get chewed. back at home.
Could you imagine hooking one of these up on a muskie rig?
Oh, God.
Sending it down?
Because they stopped stocking trout, they go to stocking these small channel cats. And Mike Long's got footage of them just mowing these things.
Yeah, so this is the type of mat that our Rootstock, which is our state spawning fish basically, that produce all of the fingerlings we stock in the lakes. They'll spawn on a mat like this. It's made out of coconut husk. Wow. So basically what the eggs, when they're laid and fertilized on it, they stick to the mat, so that we're able to pull the mat out and transfer it to a kind of a hatching tank, basically.
Wow.
And the only difference between the way that we do our normal statewide brooders spawning and our ShareLunker spawning is that we individualize the tank that they're spawned in, and then we'll spawn them on kind of like an AstroTurf type mat. And that's primarily because we don't want the eggs to necessarily stick to the top of the mat, because when we spawn them on this, we'll hang it vertically just like it is. When they hatch, they'll fall off, but with the ShareLunkers, we'll pull that mat and we'll actually transfer the eggs into a hatching jar. And you can see that next over here. It's called the McDonald's hatching jar.
Cool.
So when they hatch off of this, they'll fall to the bottom of the tank.
It feels like just a real rough kind of like Velcro almost. The female version of Velcro. Rough.
So you can see them here.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, they're spawning right on it.
That's a
Sure
lunker.
are.
That's about the 13 to 14 pounder.
They sure are spawning right on it. Look at that.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's some great footage.
It is.
Yeah, we have a whole bunch of other footage too. We got on our Facebook page, you can see it. We had a 15.5 from Lake Fork donated, and we got videos of her, doing the courtship process.
That's
which
awesome.
is cool.
On that mat. On
Yeah.
that spawn text mat.
Hard to really see it like in the wild.
Right.
We've got great
Yeah.
footage,
Yeah.
great footage of smallmouths.
Yeah, they do a
paired
lot of-
up and just like do it shaking.
Yeah.
But you don't actually see the eggs.
Coming out.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
They do a lot of underwater stuff up north.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
How important is the understanding of science in what you do?
Extremely. That's a
You're not
loaded
just-
question. That's loaded for bear.
Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely important. I mean, everything that is done through this process is done to a T, and make sure every I is dotted and T is crossed, especially. So, like with the eggs, they'll weigh the eggs to get an estimated total production from there, and then they know what the density is to stock them out into each pond. Each pond's different, so you have a 1 acre pond or a 2 acre pond, and so depending on how many you're going to stock in there, as far as the growth rate, you have to determine how much food you're going to stock in there for them to eat as well, because bass can become cannibalistic, and your production numbers, you keep them high, you have to have exactly the right amount of food in that. So, and when they're small, they eat plankton, so you've got to inoculate an algae bloom in the pond while they're hatching, and then once they've hatched, you got to make sure that your plankton levels are nice and high. So, it's we could sit here for hours talking about that.
I'd love to, man. When they're that small, are they eating like phytoplankton or zooplankton?
Zooplankton, yeah.
Okay.
Zooplankton.
So the algae is really to set up the
Yeah, you set up
zooplankton,
the
huh?
algae, then the plankton, and then once your plankton levels are high, you introduce the fingerlings, or the fry, and they'll eat those till about 2.5 inches. They'll start to feed on other like insects and fish, and so that's the reason. We'll grow them out to about 30 days. They'll be about 2.5 inches. We call them fingerlings. And at that point, they're stocked back into the lakes of Texas because they start to feed and need more energy than we can provide for them, and so they'll start to turn on each other if we don't get them enough food. So that way, when we introduce them in the wild, they've got all the other different types of insects and smaller fish to prey
Gotcha.
on.
Is there like a magic threshold you guys have figured out as far as like when to release these fish back into the lakes?
I mean, you could call it a magic threshold. It's really just to keep those numbers high, and that's at 2.5 inches.
Okay. So that'll offset the predation, huh?
On each other in the tank, yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah, it's quite the operation. I mean, I don't necessarily deal directly with all of our stockings. I help a lot with ShareLunker, but as far as the normal brood stock that they have, it's very impressive how much of a well-oiled machine it really is. So, I mean, at the end of the production season, we'll stock between 4 and 7 million of those fingerlings. We have 2 production cycles for those brooders. And then the ShareLunkers, are dependent on how many we get loaned and spawned. But yeah, 4 to 6 million is a lot. A lot of fingerlings.
yeah.
terminology-wise, the difference between fingerling and fry is when the eggs first hatch, they'll do what we call fry, which is about the size of your pinky nail. They're just 4 to 5 millimeters long. When they first hatch, they actually will sit on the bottom of the nest because they're still using up their yolk sac. Now, a few days after they use that yolk sac up, they start to swim to the top of the water. And from there, we'll take them and put them out into our grow-out ponds outside, and we'll grow them out to about that 2.5 inches, and that's when we call them fingerlings. You know, about the size of your finger.
And then that's the point where you release them.
That's the point where you harvest them and stock them out in the reservoir of Texas. So this is a kind of a crow's nest view of our Lunker Bunker, and this is a specific facility designed to house and selectively breed or spawn those ShareLunker bass. So each one of these tanks will hold one ShareLunker that's donated. They're each numbered. We can go down there in a minute, look at them, and kind of show you the ins and outs of them. But they're housed in each tank when we get them. And then when their eggs hatch, they'll actually go in these are McDonald's jar sort of hatching areas. You can see a couple of jars there. They're empty, but you can at least see them, and that'll circulate the water. And so once they've hatched out of there, they move to those smaller troughs, which are really just, until they use their yolk sac and they swim up to the top of the water. That's when we know they're ready to go outside. Cool.
This is thumbnail clickbait if I've ever seen it. Mutant catfish! Click on it, you tubers!
Perfect time.
Oh, behind the scenes.
This is where nobody else is allowed. Exclusive access.
Come on, that's good for me.
You'll never see this anywhere else.
Dude, that event in May is going to be a hoedown, man.
Which event is this, Mr. Zaldane?
Texas Parks and Wildlife, Toyota Texas Fest.
If I remember correctly, I watched you win a
I
brand
won a
new
truck.
Tundra with one
Absolutely.
fish, didn't you?
Absolutely, up down Ray Roberts, I flipped a big old nasty jig on a megabass flipping stick into a tree. I think it was like 712.
Yeah, that was rad.
Won me a brand new truck, man. Thanks to these guys.
Woo woo.
The Lunker Bunker.
Yep, so the magic happens. They're about 500 gallons each tank. But
Wow.
we simulate cloud cover.
Sure.
And then
That's
they have
cool.
like a little.
Do you ever catch them like fishing messages to each other?
That's cool.
These kind of go in a couple days after we get them. We want to primarily monitor them, but then these go in and it allows them to get in there and hide.
Sure.
Feel safe.
They use it, don't they? Probably
They do.
get right
Yeah,
in
they
the
get
middle
right
of
in
it.
it. It's hard to see them when they're there too.
Uh-huh.
They probably don't beat themselves up as bad if
No,
they feel
I mean-
kind of
Right.
hidden.
It's
Mentally,
we don't want to
Right,
cause
right.
any more scratches
Then
on
it-
them.
right,
and So we
right.
try to use stuff that's very,
Yeah.
very gentle on them.
So you're saying if I took one of those with me and drag it behind my boat, they might just come right to me?
I don't know about that. I mean, we're in the shop. So anyways, when we get a fish, basically when myself or someone else pulls in with the launcher truck, the Tundra, we'll pull in right there, we'll crack those doors open, and then we transfer the fish from the tank into basically the smaller tank like this right here.
Right.
And we work it up. So we'll sedate it so that it doesn't thrash around and cause any damage to itself. And we'll go through and we'll examine the entire fish externally, and then we'll treat each little scratch that it might have or abrasion. Basically, when we get the water from Lake Athens, it's put into a holding reservoir. And then from there, we'll push it into anything we need. So all of our outdoor exhibits, all the tanks in here
Lake
uses
water.
that water.
Yep, perfect.
And so once it's in here, it's used, and then it's circulated out into what's called an affluent pond. And basically, it's treated from there to make sure that before we put it back in the lake, it's the same quality, if not better, than what it was when we got it.
So you're not using tap water like I used to
No,
do for
not at
little
all.
minnows and they'd kill them,
Yeah, the
that's,
chlorine in
that's
it,
cool.
yeah.
Yep, very cool.
Murderer.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, it smells a little fishy in here because of that.
Smells like success if you ask
That's
me.
right. That's the smell of success.
Money.
So each fish, we'll come in and examine it, see how any of those abrasions are doing, if they're healing, if they've eaten, what they've eaten. So we'll monitor each fish from there. We also have these sort of windows that we can get down eye level and get a better view of them.
That's cool.
Let's talk about the feeding a little bit. What do you guys feed these things while you have them?
We normally feed them koi.
Yeah.
primarily. Yeah, koi is our forage fish. We'll actually raise koi here to feed not only our broodstock fish, which is our standard production bass, but also our ShareLunkers when they're here. It's like a big goldfish, basically.
Right.
Yep.
Weren't we just talking about something similar?
So the good thing about koi is they're brightly colored, easy to see, and then they have soft fins. So they don't have a lot of those rays like a bluegill or other types of fish has. So they're easy to get down and digest and don't cause a lot of stress.
Like a little filet mignon for them.
Yep.
I'd rather have a ribeye than a T-bone.
Yeah.
True that. Kyle living the good life in Minnesota. I'm eating Salisbury.
Koi's long rectangular tanks and raceways, and these are like mini raceways compared to our large ones outside. But basically, the fry will lay in here until they use up the rest of their yolk sac, and from there they'll swim to the top of the water. So that lets us know they're done. They're looking for other food.
Wow.
And then we'll harvest them from there and put them out in our grow up ponds outside. Yeah, there's koi and a couple rainbows in there, and one good sized fish.
Look at that one. Oh yeah. Kyle, you want to talk about the dynamic relationship between the rainbow trout and largemouth bass?
Well, I mean, a largemouth bass is a predator, so it's gonna chew on just about anything it can. So the rainbow trout are in here because those are part of our neighborhood fishing stocking program. So we stock rainbow trout and channel catfish in our neighborhood lakes and ponds. Look at her.
Now, what's the purpose? Why are these ones special, and why are they still
This is an observation tank.
observation? Okay.
So they're long-term holding tanks.
Okay.
I believe that fish in the back is emerald creek fish.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Oh, is that it?
Uh-huh.
Is that the one?
So
that's 13 pounds or 12 pounds. Holy sh!
yeah,
that's
she's
the
a little
one.
over 13. So the cool thing about that fish is that she was a direct offspring from one of our other caught and donated ShareLunkers.
Yeah.
So 10 years ago, an angler caught a ShareLunker, a 13-pounder, donated it to us for spawning. We spawned it, and then from there we stocked the lakes with their offspring.
Wow.
So we stocked some of their offspring in there, and then he caught it 10 years later, almost exactly 10 years later. We spawned it in March, and he caught it.
Isn't that amazing?
So
Weighed
that fish
13
in there
pounds.
is the direct offspring.
There-
It was born here.
The daughter of a previously caught, donated, and spawned ShareLunker.
Wow.
So that's the first one we have on record that was wild caught. And then we also have another one like a month later that was caught at Lake Nakanish,
Okay.
which is one of our newest reservoirs. I think it is our newest reservoir. And
How do you pronounce it? Because I've heard it butchered so many ways.
Nakanichi, Nakanish, that's like tomato, but I say Nakanish, it's easier to say for me.
So the science says that what you guys are doing is working.
Yeah, I'd say we got a pretty good, a couple of pretty good indicators that it is working.
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
It's a
exciting.
program that I hope the other states would kind of be inspired by
Yeah,
and
for
really
sure.
pick up on, especially back home in California.
So one
But,
of those
yeah.
is like 13 pounds.
Yeah.
The one in the back. That's the one my buddy brought. Isn't that amazing? Gosh, that's amazing.
I think it's phenomenal though that someone can catch a fish like that, loan it to us,
Yeah.
spawn it, in this collaboration to make bass fishing bigger and better, and then someone else caught, the biggest fish of their life, something they dreamed
Right.
about. So that's
Right.
pretty cool.
Sounds like big bass dreams, man.
That's right. That's a big bass dream.
Real quick story for you guys here. We're here at Texas Parks and Wildlife, main facility for the ShareLunker program. Here in Texas, no other state takes care of the sport of fishing like they do. Back in 05, 06-ish, that fish right there's mother was caught on a small lake in Texas. They brought it here to the ShareLunker facility. That fish right there was born and released back into the system. And basically another 10 years later, another angler caught that same fish that they spawned. And there it is, not this front one, but that rear one. It weighed 13 pounds. So that just shows you the ShareLunker program works. It absolutely works. So her mother was caught over 10 years ago and was brought here, spawned, released back into the wild, and that fish was caught again by another angler. And here she is, years and years later, back in the same facility. So really, really cool program.
Don't take this the wrong way, Kyle, but you look extra creepy right there. So 600 fish over that 13-pound threshold have come through this very room.
Just about, yep. Just shy of 600.
Wow.
Pretty cool. And you know, there's been more that's been caught, just haven't been donated.
Okay.
Whether that was just situational, where it really wasn't the best opportunity, or it was outside of our season. So we only collect them in a very small window to spawn them. We don't collect them year round. We collect catch and genetic data on anything over 8 pounds.
Because you guys just changed that program, right? In the last year or so?
We just expanded it, basically. We still do our bread and butter, where we spawn those 13-pounders. That happens January through March. You know, that's when they can be loaned. We'll come pick them up, and then do this whole process. And then any time you catch a fish, really 8 pounds, 24 inches or larger, throughout the rest of the year, you can submit catch and genetic data to us. And basically, we'll analyze its DNA, determine if it is an offspring from a ShareLunker that's been stocked. So it's pretty cool.
You want to touch on the genetics a little bit as far as northern Florida strain and how important that is to your program?
Yeah, I mean, so Florida bass were introduced many years ago, and since then, you know, the size of our fish have gone up. You know, northern bass were native. They kind of originated in a river type situation, whereas Florida's originated in kind of a reservoir or lake type situation. So they're kind of predispositioned to get larger than those northerns. And so basically, the Floridas, that influence of the Florida gene in our population has increased the size of bass in Texas. So it's really important to us in that regard. And that's, you know, one of the cool things about ShareLunker is all the research and science that we've done with it, and our genetic equipment that we have. And really, that's what people always ask, well, how's Toyota been involved? And I think one of the best ways is, since Toyota came on, we've really been able to acquire genetic equipment that's, you know, extremely advanced. It's really some of the best in the world. And so we're able to analyze those, the DNA structure of each fish further than we can anything else. We can tell, you know, how much influence it has of a northern or a Florida gene, but we can also determine its lineage, who its parents were, who its brothers, its sisters were, how closely related it is to another ShareLunker, and actually, get even further than that. I mean, if you talk to our geneticist, he'll blow your mind at how much we can do and how much knowledge he has.
Is it like the evil geneticist from Jurassic Park?
You are acting like we are engaged in some kind of mad science, but we are doing what we have done from the beginning.
That would be awesome if it was the same guy just bust through that door in his white lab coat.
Mind blown.
Very cool, man.
But with ShareLunker, you know, we're not only determining the DNA of each one of those fish, but we're also trying to identify, are there individual factors in a ShareLunker? So not only is its genetic influence important, but are there other influences in the genetic code of that fish that allow it to get to that 13 pounds, you know, 14, 15, all the way up to a state world record size? Is it aggression? You know, different things like that. So we're getting to a point where we're going to try to start to analyze that as well.
Bigger, scarier, cooler, I believe is the word that you used in your memo. You cannot have an animal with exaggerated predator features without the corresponding behavioral trait. So
it's amazing, man.
It's amazing, yeah.
I love what you do for me.
Yeah. Cool.
It's an old Toyota slogan for you youngsters.
Let's go places.
Yeah, that's a new one. I guess it comes off the tongue a little bit better.
But please, try to be mature about it.
Woo! Mark, thanks for letting me borrow this powerful Camry V6. I think I'll go out and buy one today. I love what you do for me, Toyota.
You guys don't remember those commercials? Kyle, I know you remember. These guys jump straight up in the air, like fist pump. You having fun, man?
So sick.
Raceway building. So this is the Lunker Bunker, and this is a small scale version of the large scale that our state hatchery facility here does.
So what's the difference between the fish you hatch in here and the lunkers, I guess?
So this is a selective breeding process, and this is just a standard process. So these have to reach a certain size and criteria before we accept them in the program in that size for spawning. These are our statewide rootstock fish. Most of the females are between 5 and 7 pounds, and you know, the females for our ShareLunker program, which they're all females, are 13 is that minimum threshold. So then the males are, you know, 1 to 3 pounds.
Where do the males top out at size wise?
Most males, you know, 5 to 7 would be a big male. Yeah, 7 would be a really big male.
The collection season's coming up, right? like really soon. Isn't it like October 31st usually or something like that?
For the
To start like harvesting the 13s and over?
historically it started October, but we've analyzed all of that data we have over the 30 years, and primarily, you know, the most fish that we get that spawn come in that January through March.
Okay.
And most of the successful spawns. So most of our donations come in that time, and then most of the successful spawns have come during this week.
Yeah.
So we shortened it a little bit to maximize that production and decrease mortality and things like that.
Wow.
Would you say the average length of a 13 pounder is?
24 to 26 inches is right there. We have some that, you know, 27, 28, they're really long fish and just have a giant head.
But typically they're small head, big bodies, like the ones in those holding tanks, kind of.
Typically, 24 to 26 is what you're going to see, which is, you know, you think about it, you catch an 8-pound bass, it's primarily going to be 24 inches.
Yeah.
And it's just all girth from there. It's amazing. You know, they get these fat deposits on the top of their head and then behind their eyeballs, which make their eyes bulge out because they've gained so much weight.
So that's why their eyes
Is
bulge
that it?
out.
Yeah, fat deposits
back
behind their eyes.
there? Wow.
I've seen that on Tinder.
If you guys want to run inside and film part of the dive show, it's a feed show primarily, and they talk about the fish in there. If you want to see that, it's only going to last 5 or 10 minutes.
Is that coming in?
Well, it's probably going to start right about now.
I like how this guy's just walking around with the fishing rod the entire time. He's ready. So how long you been with Texas Parks and Wildlife?
A little over 2 years, about 2.5 years now.
Awesome. What'd you do before this?
I did event management. So
Really?
I worked at a place called Sky Ranch, which is a Christian camp over in East Texas, in Van, Texas. So I did outdoor education, like informal science education. I did that, did a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Would you call this your dream job?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, it's cool because I love to bass fish, you know, fish tournaments all the time, get out whenever I can, and so I'm able to spend my time with Parks and Wildlife promoting fishing in Texas and bass fishing, and you know, I get to see and meet people on the happiest day of their life for most of them. You know, they catch that dream fish. So not only get to do that, but I get to talk fishing all day at work and go home, talk fishing and go fishing. So
Awesome.
it's fun. I meet up with it.
Yeah, I've been trying to talk with the guys at Toyota about like organizing more like youth targeted fishing events, especially like in more of the urban settings, like the city of Austin, or in Dallas, and just seeing more encouragement for the youth to get involved and grow in the sport. Especially back at home in California, like that's died. Like there aren't any kids derbies anymore. You know, it's kind of sad to see. So seeing these kind of facilities is like really encouraging, man.
That's great. Yeah. I mean, neighborhood fishing is a program that Parks and Wildlife has where we, and Toyota's involved in that we stock, you know, those channel catfish and rainbow trout in those urban lakes and ponds, which gives them an opportunity to, you know, catch their first fish for a lot of them and to have a great fishing opportunity, you know, close to home.
Yeah.
So.
That's huge.
This is my office. You guys want to see it?
Oh, dude, keep it clean.
I try.
Very nice. Is that a spot?
It is a spot. Alabama
like
spot
Georgia.
bass.
Oh, Alabama, yeah.
That's a big spot, brother.
Yeah, it is.
5'11".
That's a big one. Cool. Are these yours here too?
Big bass jerkbait.
No,
those are reps. Yeah,
reps. Okay.
Hold on, one more time. What would you catch that spot on?
Mega bass jerkbait.
Oh yeah.
Yup.
Yeah, if I would have known, I would have left you some. Dude. Seriously, those fish ought to be proud, man.
What's in the boxes?
Those are for catch kits that we send out. I don't think all of them. These are somewhat empty, but so anglers that catch a ShareLunker or catch an 8-pound bass and enter it in the program, they give us that catch genetic data. We'll send them what's called the catch kit, which includes some swag items. So you get a nice ShareLunker branded hat, some tackle items, things like that. So just as kind of a thank you and a congratulations on your catch. So each one of these you enter, you get a little bit different swag.
Cool.
So
Super cool.
that's Ethel. That's at 17.5. Yeah. That one's gonna go in our exhibit trailer. Just hadn't put it back in there yet.
Can I hold it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there
break
you
it.
go. I just want to watch your fins. Dude, that's a nice one. Look at that thing.
1767.
Do you know the dimensions on her? Like
I could look it up.
Huge by huge.
I'm gonna guess like 28 by 23.
I can't really fathom what that would be like. I could tell that thing would be really heavy though. Oh my gosh.
Clickbait title right there. Or thumbnail.
Here. Said Ethel,
Huh?
right? That one's Ethel.
good.
That's
Want me to do
17,
something? No.
1727. Is that what it was?
1767.
1767.
Yeah. Tajin.
27 and a half.
27 and a half.
Here, hold it on.
Still the ultimate game fish.
Crappie?
Who's that guy?
Some San Diego. Of course, you have a Californian.
And that's the ultimate goal, like I said, of ShareLunker. And we do that through a variety of different avenues, but ultimately we want to make bass fishing bigger and better in Texas.
Awesome.
So
You have.
Hashtag that.
hashtag
Yeah.
ShareLunker, hashtag bigger, better bass. So, and you know, the two ways, and we did, like you said, we expanded in January, the two ways that people participate is they, loan a fish that's over 13 pounds for spawning purposes. We'll spawn that fish, and then stock his offspring, a portion of it back into the lakes that donate those fish for the season. And then we also keep, a small portion of that back for research and then the brood stock development.
Okay.
And the other way that you can enter the program is you submit anything over 8 pounds or 24 inches, and you're submitting catch and genetic data. You just download our app. You do it right on the water. You take a photo of the weight or the length of the fish, and you submit it straight to us. Do a small scale samples to just pluck one of the scales right off of the side of the fish, release the fish, then send that to us. We'll analyze his DNA, all the catch data. We'll backfill it with weather data as well. So we'll be able to analyze it, and really, at the end of the day, we'll take that information and see what kind of factors influence an angler catching, an 8, 10, 12, 13-pound bass.
How do we contact, or if someone does catch one on the water, how do we?
Yeah, if somebody catches a 13-pounder on the water January through March, they can give us a call, the ShareLunker contact number. You give that a call, you'll reach me directly, and we'll go from there to go about picking that fish up. Throughout the state, we have partnerships with marinas to be what we call a holding station or a weigh station. So they've got certified scales that can certify that catch that it is 13 pounds or larger. And then they also have a dedicated, aerated tank specific to hold that lunker. So whenever you make it there, that way you have a large holding tank to keep the fish in the best health we can until we arrive there to transfer it from there to the facility here.
And what ultimately happens to those donated fish?
Ultimately, we'll selectively breed them. So we pair them up with a pure Florida ShareLunker male offspring. And once they've spawned, we hold the fish for about another week, let it recover, and then I'll call the angler up and try to meet back up with them with the lake that they caught the fish out of. So at Lake Fork, I was able to meet up with Alex Finch, who caught his fish, and we actually got to go out on his boat and release her where he caught her. So I'll be caught again.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What happens if
Get
they
a wrap
catch
up.
a 13 that's in the slot?
They can still donate it. There's an exception for ShareLunker because it's going back to us.
What if we do it in a big bass event?
Well, I mean, you could donate to us, but I don't know if you could enter it.
Yeah.
How bad would that be? You catch a 13-pounder. We do have 13s that have been entered that
Uh-huh.
were 23 and a half from Fork. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it'd be tough to
that's
catch
why I
one
asked.
like a Sealy, big bass fly or something.
It's officially a ShareLunker, but it's not.
It's not a legal entry in the
Yeah.
tournament. You can check us out at texassharelunker.com, or we're also download our app. You can go to the App Store or Google Play and download the keyword ShareLunker.
How about social media outlets?
Yeah, we're on Facebook, ShareLunker. So
Instagram?
not Instagram, not yet.
It's 2018.
I know.
Kyle. Come on, brother.
I know. We're gonna try to do some Snapchatting, maybe. I'm a snapper.
You killed that, dude. Good.
Awesome. Not a single flat brim.
Fine, guys. This is Mandy Scott. She's our facility director.
Hi, Mandy. I'm Oliver Nye.
Mandy,
Nice to meet you.
Hi, Kyle Peterson.
Kyle,
Mitch Anderson.
Mitch,
Hello, Chris Zaldane. Nice to
Chris.
meet you. I'll be
Nice to meet
fishing
y'all.
at Texas Fest here coming up May of next year, and these are the wiredtofish.com guys.
Yeah.
They're probably the best how-to fishing site out there right now. And then this
Yeah.
is Oliver and I from from Big Bass Dreams. He's the big fish guy all over YouTube. So
Great.
yeah, we were out fishing, filming on Athens here, and we got rained out. So I called Tom Hungerford, one of the biologists out Fort Worth, where I'm from, and he called Kyle, and we just kind of put this thing together, and we got some awesome content to spread and show, the whole fishing community. So
good, that's what I'm
Kyle did well. He did really good on camera.
I'm sure he did.
He's a natural.
Yeah.
So did you get to see the Lunker Bunker?
The bunker. The whole thing.
Right.
The whole thing.
Oh,
So,
that's really cool. That was great.
Other states, we travel all over the country and fish, and there's just no way, no one comes close to, anything you guys have here as far as conservation. It's amazing. So
You guys just set the bar too high. Nobody's even trying.
I know. Yeah.
Thanks for doing what you guys do.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. It really is a great place to work. We enjoy what we do. We believe in what we do. So.
Good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you're an angler yourself.
I am an angler. Yeah, sorry, I didn't understand you. I am an angler. I've been a bass fisherman since I was about 18. I learned to fly fish for trout before that.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks again.
Yep.
Thank you. We'll keep in touch.
For sure. Yeah. Give me a call. My number's most widely published.
Well, hopefully we get to call you for the right reason.
Yeah.
Right?
You call somebody you got a 15 or something.
Yeah. Cool.
So.
All right. Well,
Take it easy,
all right.
guys.
Thanks again.
We'll see ya.
What do you think, Kyle?
Bigger, better bass.
Oh man.
Stop what you're doing and set it in motion. It's the next movement. You listen and stop what you're doing and set it in motion. It's the next movement.
LRPs. Some of the best yet. Some of the best yet. They bite like that, like that, like that. Big bass, double digits.
Kick up the fire right on top.
Low fall, blast off, trying to get some cast off. Doing this here for years, get my bass on. Stream mask on, putting in work. Snap back, got me focused, never settle on a shirt. I missed one and hit one, man, that's